Are you steeping tea?
Yeah. It's no, like, it doesn't do anything. I'm just taking the leaves out of the water and putting them back in the water and watching some of them float. A very, very small, like the little bits will float, but the rest will stay at the bottom.
Is
It's very soothing.
uh can I
It's a nice morning activity.
oh, okay. I suspect that I'm going to be the counter to your soothing morning tea because I'm probably here
Yeah.
to add just a smidgen of chaos to float.
I
I'm
was
like the
trying to reach
leaf.
nirvana before you came into my life, Joey.
If I if I could have a claim to fame, I like that it's the idea that I stopped you from enlightenment entirely.
Joey ruined nirvana.
That's not me. That was Courtney Love.
Mm, true. True.
God. I was gonna say that that's a joke that no one's gonna understand, but then I remembered that actually Dota people are all old and might
They're all
understand
boomers.
that. They're all fucking boomers. I run into this problem a lot at work where I'm lucky that Team Liquid's fan base is also kind of older, kind of like the Dota fan base. I think because so many of them come from like StarCraft and Dota to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes I realize that I don't make jokes for the youth anymore. You know, but that's okay. I think I learned.
Aren't good jokes just good jokes?
I don't think a joke is a good joke if the audience does not know at all what the joke is.
That's what Google's for. They don't know a cultural reference. They could just Google it.
I think relying on cultural reference for jokes is good but not great. That's why generally I think I like wordplay jokes more than pop culture jokes because they just stand more universal. I think you can cast a wider net. Comedy's
Believe
like
me,
dating.
I have to Google shit all the time when I'm casting with Kyle. He'll throw some random sports reference, and I'm sitting there going like, "Anybody? Anybody know what this means? I don't know."
I'm really interested. So I did my homework, which was I watched some of the Eastern European broadcast.
Oh, you watched me. It was my time.
I went to watch you, and I have a couple questions that I'm just gonna rattle off.
Uh-huh.
Has the set always been so white and yellow?
Those are the new ESL 1 colors. So kind of.
Don't think
Yeah.
don't think it looks great. I know that I'm now complaining about something that you have no control over.
I did prefer the blue. The ESL 1, the color used to be blue. And they did variations of blue and white. And then they started going away from that over the last like 3 years. And now it's white and yellow.
The thing is that you also are all just very white and standing in front of white screens and then have yellow light shining on you, which makes the whole thing just kind of a weird color palette. Do they make you wear business casual clothes on ESL, but casual clothes on DreamHack?
Yes. That is, I believe it's work casual and business casual.
Okay.
Whatever. Something, yeah. Smart casual. That's the term. Smart casual is for, because they don't want necessarily t-shirts, but, not necessarily button-ups.
Because I tuned in and I'm like, pocket square? This isn't what I'm used to.
Yep. Again, that was the only difference, besides obviously the colors. That was the only difference from ESL and Dream League last season. Now I'm the host, so there's another difference. Now you're like, the studio's different, their clothes are different, and the host is different. I'm beginning to think this is a different show.
Yeah.
This isn't Dream League at all.
It's wild that they rented an extremely similar studio. They must have got the studio at Costco and got a bulk discount.
True. Buy one, get one free. Yeah. I'm convinced that the production hates um, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, because Friday is an ESL day, Saturday is a Dream League day, Sunday is an ESL day, Monday is a Dream League day. So every single time, starting I guess Saturday morning, they go in, they have to change the studio
I mean, I guess yeah,
every day.
they put that ESL emblem on the floor, which is nice.
Yeah, they have to roll up the carpet, change the lights, and put the emblem. And
Do,
yeah, I guess it's not a ton of
did
work,
I
obviously,
tune into the standing broadcast, or is there also a conscious choice that you stand during ESL but sit during Dream League?
but that was the rule last season, and we continued that rule this season. They actually gave us chairs, but I prefer standing. I actually find standing a lot more comfortable on a desk, especially the desk, because it's not a chair, right? It's like a propped up stool thing, like a kitchen
Yeah.
stool sort of deal. So it's not the most comfortable, and I like to be able to move around. I'm very fidgety, so I made the executive call. We're standing. Get it?
I also prefer standing, especially I think that it almost always looks better to be standing during a live show. There's like a few
Yeah.
exceptions to those rules, but I think that standing just by and large is like a better look. I also think that it's in a world where like Twitch and YouTube is so prevalent that sitting is easy, but standing takes like thought and cameras and like a desk that's tall. Like it's a way to make something look a little classier.
Yeah, and it makes my hosting better because I need physicality in order to emphasize or to articulate my thoughts, right? So I need to be able to point or gesture with my hands in some way, or even just walk around to be able to articulate my thoughts better. Um, so that helps. And then on top of that, like physicality is just something that's missing in all of these esport panel productions, right? You're always just sitting in a spot, you don't move anywhere, and maybe the camera shot changes or whatever, but you're just sitting there. Nothing moves, nothing changes. And so it I think it's nice to be able to have a little physicality, a little movement. That is actually something that they encouraged last season for ESL, was that like, hey, we're gonna have we'll get into this actually. We're gonna have the draft overlay, and then we're gonna have shots of you guys intermixed with shots of the players from their webcams. So and we want you guys to actually use the studio. We want you guys to actually stand in front of the desk that makes you feel more comfortable, like lounge, like whatever it is, like make it so people can actually feel the studio is a real 3D dimension and not just a backdrop, which I quite like. Not doing in that this season. It's pretty much always the in-game draft, or it's player webcams. The reason being is I believe they still 3 weeks have gone by. We are officially over the halfway point. They have still not changed the draft overlay or various other overlays. It's getting ridiculous.
From the production side or from the game side?
Because the draft changed, right? It went 1-1-1-1 to 1-2-1, right?
Yes.
So, however, that's put into the system now. A hero gets picked. A hero gets picked. A hero gets picked, and for their thing, it goes on the other side when it's supposed to be, or something. There's maybe it's not that, maybe it's something else, but like
The graphic tech person for the draft overlay has not been working for the last month.
Yes,
They're
and
off
I
on
think
vacation.
one of the most enjoyable parts of my job as a host is to be able to hype up a game in some way. That's why I'm a play-by-play caster. Okay, and I think the coolest thing that tournament organizers ever do is when they drop the outro music, and we get they call it hero shots, but basically we get for ESL we get the 3D graphics of the team logos or close-up shots, boom, 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 and you're seeing these shots and stuff, and we're going to a break, and you're hearing me throw to that break, and I'm hyping up the upcoming match or whatever. That is, I think, one of my favorite parts of hosting. Half the time we don't have that because we do not have the Puck Champ and Win Strike logos. Still, and that's not a team thing. We've known for a very long time, since towards the end of season 1, that those two teams were going to be promoted up to upper division. Then we had a break where the major happened, and then second season started. We still don't have those hero shots for those logos. If those two teams are ever playing in any matchup, they can't do it. If it doesn't matter if they're both in the same match, if it's just, Virtus Pro versus Puck Champ, we can't have that because they have the Virtus Pro one, but they don't have the Puck Champ one, so they can't play it. And the music is tied in with the video. So we just do all right, I'm going to break, and they do a zoom out, and there's no music, there's no feel, there's nothing. I hate it. It bothers me every time because it feels so nice when we have it, and it feels so bad when we don't.
I'm just wondering. I have so many questions, none of which you can answer. I just want to talk to Johnny SL and be like, did you lay the rest of the team off for second season?
It said the easiest graphic in the world, the text that says first season of ESL, Eastern Europe or whatever. That text was the same for like a week.
I did see that
one.
I feel like they got that called out.
Yeah, I mean that's literally the easiest one. It's literally just text. It just takes somebody going into Photoshop and literally changing that from first to second or whatever the fuck. But like we still have the fucking the player shots in the background, front and center. Pikachu or FN or like some player who's definitely not on that roster anymore is always front and center right there.
Oops.
It's just driving me a bit crazy because I'm just like, okay, but we're halfway done. Like at this point, like if somebody asked me, like if somebody gave me some sort of power to make this happen, I will legitimately would be like, I mean, do you guys really want to waste the resources at this point? Like we're halfway done. Like what? By the time it gets back to us, there's there's probably at least a week gone, if not a week and a half too. So you're gonna just use it for the last week? Like,
nah, it should be fixed on principle, regardless of if it's just a day.
All right, fair enough.
It should be fixed on principle because this is a professional thing. It's a professional thing. You gotta update the graphics.
See, that's a company man right there that works within a company culture and works to make things better. I'm a freelancer who's just going like, fuck it, whatever. We made it this far. Let's just keep it going.
Put that on your hiring reel. Be like, yeah, I'm a freelancer. Just fuck it. What else did I notice about the CIS broadcast aside from the stuff that was superficial? I think I've come around in my time watching Kyle on broadcast. Okay. I think I spent the first year, maybe even 2 years, being like, man, Kyle's kind of annoying. He thinks his own shit doesn't smell, right? Like, Kyle is always right in his mind, and that's a personality type that like I'm not super vibing with. Because it doesn't feel like a character. It felt real. Yeah. And now, I think recently, I've flipped that, and I now feel bad for Kyle because I'm convinced that every day he's just getting bullied by his friends.
Yeah. It's a very... Kyle's created himself such a weird fucking brand. Rich actually told Kyle that it was like the best brand in esports because like no matter what, the attention is on him. Right? Kyle is right. Kyle is right. Kyle is right. Kyle is wrong. It's like that's getting spammed all the time. Fucking, like we're always making fun of Kyle. The thing is, and I've thought about this too. We're all very good friends with Kyle. Mm-hmm. We all love Kyle. But we also all love Kyle in like sort of he's our little brother sort of sense, almost kind of way, and that like
That sounds
he's
patronizing.
you.
There's a word for that.
Okay, but like you love your little brother, but you could see like he's clearly like he's younger than you, so he's got that like headstrong youth. You can see him making certain mistakes, and you can tell him that, but he's still gonna do it anyway. It's stuff like that. What are you doing? Are you looking at your bald spot again?
No, I'm not actually. I lost my toothpick. Also, thank you for bringing that up. I lost my fidget toy on the floor. Okay, and you had to shine a light onto it. I was listening to you talk about Kyle being your younger brother, and now I am looking at my bald spot. Fucking look, Jesus!
That's a normal long hair. That's normal, Joey. Okay. Seriously.
Sorry. Go on.
Every single time, every week, it's like a thing where you look at your hair and you try and find, am I thinning there?
It's really bad. It's incredibly bad. We're talking about Kyle, whose hair may or may not be thinning, but.
So yeah, the thing is about Kyle is that he in some way is very sure of himself. And he's so like overly sure of himself that you can't help but not make fun of him. Like he just goes out there and he's like, no, actually, I did research. The sky is actually red. Yeah, it's actually your eyes. It's because of the blue tint in your eyes that makes you see the sky as being blue, but the sky is actually red. No, it's true. And so when you finally disprove that, like you're like, all right, dog, like I'm gonna make fun of you for this. Like, of course I am. You were so sure the sky was red. Like, why would you possibly believe that, man? It's just impossible not to. Like, how do you not make fun of somebody for that? It's either that or you just aren't friends with them anymore because you think that guy's an idiot. And I don't think Kyle's an idiot, so that's why I make fun of him when he's wrong like that. He's so sure of himself.
So I think that this conversation in reference to me also watching some of the broadcast, I think I just had a mild epiphany. I think that it is apparent when specifically you, Cap, are either kind of taking the piss out of Kyle or making a joke at his expense or kind of like twisting a knife. I feel like the tone that you use is very communicative to some kind of a jovial manner.
Oh, I think I'm very good at that. You know what that is? That's my shit. What did I took one of those INFP letter things, right?
Myers-Briggs.
I did it for funsies. Yeah, I did it. I know those things are, kind of whatever, but I was a mediator, and that very much does describe me to a T. I like people to get along. So I have become an expert at ensuring, that the people that I'm talking to, not necessarily always to the audience, but the people that I'm talking to, that they know that when I'm joking, I'm clowning on them, I'm joking about them, and that when they make a joke at my expense, then I like audibly make some sort of note that like, I thought that was funny. I'm not insulted at all. I think I'm very good at that.
So I think the epiphany that I'm having here and why I might be feeling some kind of empathy for Kyle. I do not think that Brian has that skill.
Brian is not the most socially graceful person that I know. Brian is wonderful. I like Brian a lot because he is
BSJ,
painfully honest. In many ways, he is very blunt and forward, and the part that I really like about him is that he doesn't have an ego about himself, and he's perfectly acceptable of being clowned on, or even clowning on himself, and he's always down to learn. He's always willing, like he's actively asked, like if he thinks someone knows more about a subject than him, then he will go out of his way to ask about it. I think I like those traits a lot, but yes, Brian is not the most
I think it's
socially graceful person.
I think it's just his tone. Like
Yeah.
sometimes the way that he will say something that I am just assuming and knowing is like a joke at Kyle's expense just feels harsh.
Yes. That is something that I've worked with BSJ on a different project, where he's talking to some other people. Say it's maybe 4 other people, in an environment of some sort, and the way he talks to them, even though he doesn't mean to, comes off a certain way that can really rub people the wrong way, and that's something that I've kind of lightly been like, hey, so the way you said this, like instead of saying it this way, let's say it this way, you know?
What a mediator. Yeah, it's wild too. And over the last year I've worked with more Europeans than I probably ever have. And people from different parts of Europe. And I think it's really interesting how I've gotten feedback multiple times that it seems weird almost that I like go out of my way to be nice. Because I have it in my mind that like Americans are kind of assholes, and maybe that's like the stereotypical New York American, right? Who's like, "Yeah, I'm walking over here," right? Like maybe that's what I have in my mind. But then I'm like, the perception that I've gotten back is like, "Oh no, like everything needs to be like nice and cordial." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do try and do that actually." I try and be painfully nice all the time, right? And so they have the opposite thing. They're like, oh, like it's almost weird to me that you're adding flowery language to something instead of just calling me an idiot. Like Joey, I messed up this video. Why are you not just like mad at me or calling me like an idiot or like telling me what I did wrong instead of like, trying to present it in like a nice, like just tell me what I did wrong. And I'm like, oh, that feels bad. I don't want to do that. That's mean.
Yes, part of this is definitely your personality, but no, for sure. The one of the things I very often hear about Europeans is they hate American fake niceness. You know, the small talk, American small talk. They find that whole thing just gross. Why? Why are you asking me how my day's been? You don't care. And I'm just like, well, it's just a polite thing to do. I mean, maybe you'll say something interesting and I will care.
Why do we like
possibilities open?
Like, why do I need to when I'm checking out at the market? And someone's like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Not bad. How about yourself?" Like the answer's gonna be, "I'm fucking sad. I'm at a Ralph's in the middle of a fucking global pandemic, bagging groceries." Like, there's a point to be had about that specific thing. Maybe there is too much small talk. Maybe we can be slightly more direct. But I think Brian might be too direct with Kyle, and it comes off as mean or being a bully sometimes.
Yeah. Like when Cheever and I do it, I feel like it comes off okay, which is why like Kyle and I casting together, I think works out all right. Because honest to God, like people say like, we bully Kyle and stuff like that. I literally don't know how I can operate on a panel or in close proximity with Kyle without making fun of him. It's guys, you have to understand, like Kyle is, oh my God, you just got to do it. You got to do it because for a number of reasons. One, he's perfectly fine with it. He's very accepting of that. I think like very rarely he gets insecure about it. And I think one of the things he got insecure about was when Kyle is always wrong, was getting spammed a lot because he thought that maybe that was harmful to his brand. But it's I don't think that was the case. But then like but when it comes to like friendships and stuff, like that's just how we operate. That is a very much a Western thing. America, UK, some of Europe, but the farther east you go, especially like Southeast Asia, like we have a large fan base in Southeast Asia, maybe India, maybe some like Chinese fans who watch the English broadcasts and stuff like that. Like I think that type of banter humor friendship sort of thing is less and less acceptable. It's considered like very more rude
Mm-hmm.
than, that's just your friendship, right? But like that's literally what UK entertainment is banter, right? It's that all their panel shows and stuff that like they've got
Which
the
is
same
every
people
show they
coming on
have.
all the time. Yeah, they only have panel shows, right? They aren't going on there as actors, in a way they kind of are, right? But they're going on as themselves, and I'm friends with this guy, and they talk shit about each other. And it's possible off camera they're not actually friends, but like I feel like very often it's a group of comedians. They're probably friends, right? And that is their entire entertainment catalog when it comes to the comedy section is that. And that is very much kind of what we not fully try and emulate, but like, it definitely, we take bits of that in esports, because I mean, very often it's what our humor is like. Kyle finds it funny. When the zinger that I did on Kyle, uh that went up on Reddit, that
Mm-hmm.
one, he was laughing after the broadcast, and I gave him a hug after the camera was off, you know. We all thought it was really funny. Uh that is how our relationship is off camera as well. But yes, if Kyle was not like so fucking when Kyle makes points, it's like a real he would be a great cult leader. He would be a great cult leader because he says things with such religious zeal almost sometimes. And he knows that he's not that sure about it, but he'll say it that way anyway. Because in some ways, Kyle is also playing a character that is intended to get clowned on, or it's intended if he's right, then he gets to be right, and he took a risk and made the shot, and he ends up looking great as a result. Either side of the coin is entertainment, one way or the other.
So I also watched some of the Chinese uh, DPC stream,
Uh,
and I think that for people who have watched that, there's a really stark difference between what you are describing right now versus the Chinese stream, which is I'm doing the
Tsunami,
thing. I'm doing the thing
Lizard,
where I'm trying to be
Lacoste,
American
Black.
now, I guess, and trying to be
Oh,
nice about
okay.
something. Bland.
Mm,
There's like not like I don't think that making fun of a panel member or having someone else be counterculture or like having this kind of bickering between people necessarily makes a show. Like it's all additive, it's
yeah.
all good. In theory, the Dota makes the show, right? Like that's what people are
Mm,
there for. The casting can make the show, but like I think that I appreciate the dynamic that's going on in Europe much more when I feel like I can watch that show and look at myself and be like, "Oh, I'm smiling right now because these people are like giving me some kind of happiness." Where
mhm.
I was watching China and it felt very slow and clinical.
Yeah, and I think I have seen many comments who say like the Europe show sucks. Like C is easily the best show. And I think what's cool is I think we have three not very different shows going on, because the thing is that like whenever people like talk about this and like, oh, this town is so much better than this town, like I'm friends with, excluding like maybe one or two people, I would say I am either good friends or pretty good friends with almost every single person in the talent industry, and I think I get along with every single one of them. Tsunami on the Southeast Asia town, like we've messaged each other back and forth on Discord. He shows up in my channel all the time. We like bantering a bit back and forth. Tsunami's great rage for memes and stuff like that. Lizard and I have like a bit of a bromance going back and forth. I really like working with Lacoste on panels. We did so way back in Starladder, and we would have the same bit of banter going back and forth. Like it's not like these are different people, but we do have different shows going on. NA is very much a Jenkins and Sons fan show where they've got more absurdist humor that's going on, where they're going to talk about diarrhea, and festering wounds or some
That
shit.
did
'Cause that's
happen, for the record.
that yeah, that is what Jenkins will bring to a show, and you're either with it or you're not. And you just gotta be with it if you're on a show. Europe is a lot more banter heavy, I would say, because we have Kyle, because we have me, and actually BSJ as well, because BSJ makes for a good person to dunk on as well. Because I mean that motherfucker looks like Clark Kent, it's like he's a good person to get a good dig at, because you just look at that guy and you're like, that guy's a successful person. That guy's got it together. So what if like, yeah, he was wrong about that last pick. He said there was no way this hero could be picked up, and then it did. That's pretty funny that super ultra handsome successful guy is actually he's a little human. BSJ makes for a really good person in that regard as well.
I think so for me.
Oh, and T Governor, actually, sorry, small rant. T Governor is actually fantastic with that, because T Governor plays the meek. He plays the. There's no other way to say this, but submissive. He plays the yes sir. He does that really well. It's very British of him. There was the Ricky Gervais had a talk about like the difference between UK and US comedians, and like the US comedians, they want to be the guy in the office who the lead guy in the office who gets the girl in the end and makes the zingers and is clowning on Dwight, and UK comedians want to be the boss, or they want to be Dwight, the guy who is getting clowned on, and then that's the difference, right? And it, like, T Governor is fantastic at that. He sets himself up in many ways to get clowned on. He tries to be, the small weak guy getting picked on.
What I was going to say about like that choice of casting and how the shows are so different is that I think it's very easy for someone who's watching these broadcasts to look and identify things that they don't like as people. Like, I don't like the NA show because of Jenkins, or I don't think Tsunami's a great host in China, or I think Lacoste and Lizard make a boring panel. And I think that going about it by looking at it as the talent is not great, and you really almost have to think about it as like the show that's being built, right? Like PGL hired these people to do a show like this kind of at their direction. DreamHack hired these people to do a show like this at their direction, right? So what I don't like is when I see people, give feedback on Reddit or on Twitter or even in Twitch chat, if I have the misfortune to look at Twitch chat for more than 5 seconds, is like, oh, like this, it's this person. When really, like, they're kind of operating in the system that was set up for them and doing their job.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll get off my soapbox on that.
I think part of it is the fact that the shows. Part of the reason that Reddit probably gravitates to that is, one, I mean, it's just easy, right? You identify with the talent as, a person, so it's easier to be able to criticize or praise them. But then I would also say it's very often, because these shows just, it's not like the tournament organizer really tells you what their vision is. They, if anything, it's the talent who do the show, and the only time they get, like, they do the show first and then they get the feedback after. For example, Kyle's segment on Alliance got feedback, and it wasn't negative feedback. It was like, hey, you guys should feel free to, like, if you guys have something funny like this, you should feel free to, like, say something like this. There is, of course, a line, and you have to make sure not to go over that line, but you guys should feel comfortable and confident to be able to have the freedom to be able to make these sort of jokes and stuff. Like, we think it makes for a good show. It's much better than being so careful of the line that you don't make any jokes at all and everything's very safe and bland. We want people to they didn't say this, but like I think you want people to feel something. And I think, Joey, you've been an advocator of that for a while when it comes to shows. You want them to feel something, whether they're uncomfortable or they hate you or they love you. Get something out of them.
That's the thing, and I mean, without sounding like a broken record, because you're right, I haven't said it maybe right here, but like, I wish that more people were comfortable being the bad guy or being the butt of jokes, or like, I think that a lot of people, especially in an industry where, you know, there is not a lot of job security, and one angry Reddit mob could potentially mean that your income for the year is a lot less. Like, we don't have more people who are PPD type archetypes, who I even hate using that as an archetype because I genuinely think PPD is kind of a fuck. I've never met him, never talked to him. I really just get the opinion that he's not playing a character, he's actually just an asshole. And that's fine, but people like him and hate him because he may or may not be an actual asshole, right? Not everybody in the arc of characters or talent needs to be loved. Not everybody on a broadcast should be OD Pixel.
Yeah.
Right? Which is great absolutely. That Kyle plays a character almost. He's not really playing a character. That means Kyle is Kyle, right? No, I would say no one's really playing a character, but like
I think everybody takes their own personality and amps it up. Sometimes it's 50%, sometimes it's 5%. I think everybody does that, right? I am not nearly as extroverted as I am on panel. I am much more introverted. But everything that I am putting out there is still definitely me. It's just turned up to a notch that I would not be in person.
Yeah, I mean, of the time. Even when we have conversations not being recorded, we talk to each other with less spirit in our voice, right? Like, you know.
Yep.
Just
a lot more pauses, you know. It's finally the time where we can be comfortable with a pause because it's not dead air on a broadcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did a show for Liquid. We're trying something out last week, this week, and ultimately I was the person who was in front of the camera reading, which is something that I feel comfortable doing because I've done enough of it over the last 4 or 5 years, right? But I'm not really seeking it out. And I never like doing stuff that's brand new that I know is going to get eyeballs because I still have a fear's the wrong word, but like anxiety about large amounts of negative feedback. And for me, the only thing worse than large amounts of negative feedback is like really precise pieces of feedback that could be good or bad or neutral, but like things that like really like start to live rent free in my head. So I did this show. We posted on the Team Liquid Twitter last Monday and today, this Monday, or I guess it's Tuesday. It's late. And in the multitude of feedback, one of the things that I got was 2 different people told me that I was too grandiose presenting with my hands. And for the last week, it's been rent free in my head, for better or for worse. And now doing the show and even like right now talking to you, I'm looking at my hands.
Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, like you saw me using my hands a lot at ESL.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think that it's pretty ingrained in me, and sometimes I can turn it up. But that's also why oftentimes, you know, if you're watching the video version of Side Pull, in the comments, because you're looking at the page, tell me why. Is it because you want to see the different angle of Cap's room? Is it because you want to see what shirt I'm wearing today or how oily my skin is? Spoiler, very oily right now. Because I assume most people just have us in a different tab to listen to us, right? But like I always have toys in my hands when we're recording because it means that I can keep them below the camera line, which you can't do when you're like in shot or like on a desk broadcast like you're doing.
So do you feel insecure about
No.
the hand waving thing?
I do
Okay.
not feel insecure about the hand waving thing at all.
Okay.
I think that there
So you're
is
not gonna
validity.
tone it down or anything?
I think that there is validity to toning it down and being a little conscious of it, like 10%, because if it's distracting to someone, that isn't good, right? So like I think that there is like a valid part there and like a tweak to make. But I think it's really interesting to like get these random bits of unsolicited social media feedback, right? And also something that I realized when we've been trying out this show, which like I'm tagged directly in on Twitter, is I forgot how intoxicating it is to have your phone just not stop getting push notifications for likes. It's like,
well, I turned that shit off immediately. I think you have to turn off. I say this not as like talent, but as like a functioning member of society. I think you have to turn off notifications for likes and retweets. Okay, comments are somebody communicating with you, so I feel like you it's kind of okay to get that training in your brain, you know, like somebody's talking to you, like, oh hey, what's going on? I'm gonna read what they said. You know, like I think that's kind of okay, but I think likes and retweets are like literally toxic to your brain to have like literally a Pavlov dog type like vibration means dopamine because somebody liked the thingy that I did. I think that's bad. You got to turn that off.
Yeah, so I changed my Twitter notifications again so that they're like batched. So I only see replies from everyone, retweets and likes from people that I specifically follow, because that feels like valuable information. And then basically everything else is batched together and I don't get notifications for it, which is nice because you're right. It's like suddenly when your Twitter or like any of your social media workflow is like used to, oh, you know, I post a thing, there's like a modest amount of 20 to 50 people who like something, okay, whatever, like that's like some kind of status quo. But then as soon as that starts to multiply by like a factor of 10, then it's like your stupid fucking lizard brain makes you feel good about it, and that's where it gets dangerous, right? Is when now you're associating this random Twitter, Instagram feedback with oh man, this feels good. And I very quickly did not like that because, you know, we do episode 2 today and, you know, oh, only 90% of the people liked it. Maybe it's a bad idea. Yeah. Maybe I wrote this one or acted in this one worse. Maybe they realized I'm stupid and they were being nice the first time. Like, like, man, I know that this has to sound like to so many people such a fucking first world problem, fuck you complaint. Right, man. Let me complain about Twitter likes for a second, but I've been thinking a lot about it over today. So I'm just sharing my brain with you and how I had to change my Twitter notification settings because it was not good. And also now I'm worried that because less people liked this week's show than last week's show that it was a bad idea to do it.
I will say that so a couple things. I think you should turn on you should turn on only notifications from people that you know that comment, because that is quite literally somebody you know communicating to you. I think that's only the kind of acceptable dopamine hit that is kind of okay.
Yes, I got validation from Austin.
And then I would say if to go back to the hand waving thing, do you want a suggestion?
Oh, I'll take a suggestion. Sure, I love suggestions.
So I find that
fuck you. Sorry, go on.
If you can find something that you can hold on to that is more a bit more inconspicuous. Is it inconspicuous or conspicuous?
Conspicuous.
Conspicuous. All right.
No,
Whatever. So,
inconspicuous. It's inconspicuous. Final answer.
I think it is inconspicuous.
Yes.
So my favorites are teacup, or mug of some sort, or a pen. That's why I very often do the pointing thing. A pen helps a lot. Being able to hold a pen like you normally would, it's a lot more natural. Particularly on camera, it prevents you from doing the jazz hands waving, and does more of this pointing sort of thing, which is a little bit, let's see, more natural looking. It's not a what is this wacko doing? Whoa, and more of a hey, what's going on? You know. So I would say, if you could find objects like that are not as noticeable, that I think that helps a lot with that.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I do like pens. Pens are good for that purpose. You're right, because you can kind of, it's like another finger.
It forces your hand also to do more of this, which quite literally makes your hand smaller, rather than this. I'm doing this right now. Look how big my hands are compared to this.
One thing that was not called out to me, but that I am very self-aware of, that I wasn't a fan of, is that when I read teleprompter and I want to get more emphasis or a little bit more excitement out of something, I have a tendency to tilt my head back. I have a tendency to like I lean back a little bit, and then I'll notice that it's really hard to do with this angle. I mean, I probably have to like actually spike the camera if I'm trying to, but I notice that like, yes, like I will tilt my head back, and I'm almost reading down my cheekbones at the prompter instead of keeping my head square with the camera. I'll do a lot of this, and that's something that I'm trying to get better about, that I'm self-critical on. So I don't know if you got any tips with that one, of how to keep my fucking head straight when I'm on camera and reading stuff, aside from stop being an idiot.
I always think of that phrase, staring down the barrel. That kind of helps me keep my I am always thinking that when we go to the outro, staring down the barrel of the camera right into the lens, and that helps me tilt it like in my head I'm imagining it's almost like this. Which obviously it's not, but like I tilt my head a little bit more forward and I'm looking down to the lens almost. That for whatever reason, that phrase helps me lock in to a camera and not move around as much. But yeah, I don't really have anything else.
Damn it.
that is the phrase that helps me, but it may not work for you. I don't know.
Man.
So in my own self-critique, I did not do that much. I didn't really look over my hosting from season 1, because to be honest, I was doing the short days and stuff, and it was just kind of filler. So I was like, all right. But this time in the actual hosts, I've been paying a lot more attention to. I say a lot. I mean, by comparison, it's a lot more. But it's still not actually that much, because I feel like really what I'm just doing is I'm just doing reps and I'm getting into it. So I'm not going to like overwhelm myself with a bunch of self-criticism of like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this better. I feel like I haven't done this that much. So right now I'm just getting in the reps. But the one thing that has been bothering me is that when I talk to the camera, I'm always scowling. That's not what a host really should do. Why are you scowling at the camera all the time? It's because I'm articulating, I'm trying to figure out, and I'm also maybe sometimes being serious. So I'm always like kind of scowling or just not being happy at all. And a host is supposed to be happy. And so that's something I've been trying to tell myself more, is smile.
Do you find that you normally scrunch your eyebrows when you're thinking? Which is something that I know people don't really think about. But like, do you know what your thinking face looks like?
It probably looks something like this, yeah.
Yeah. That looks right to me from
Yeah.
looking at you and having conversations. Like your eyebrows go down a little bit and your eyes get a little
Yeah.
squinty, which probably adds to the scowl because you're probably like thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I have an opposite thinking face where my thinking thing, and I'm almost certain this was trained into me by fucking like elementary school teachers who like taught me how to do test taking well, is like the thing that we were taught was always when you're thinking about something, so it doesn't look like you're looking at anyone else's paper, you don't want to like look around the room or get confusing, you look up.
Mm.
You look up.
Mm-hmm.
So people who really like have spent a lot of time and like just studied my body language, like close friends and some family, I have such an obvious tell for when I'm actually thinking about something, because I either raise my eyebrows a lot, which is kind of the opposite of what you do, or I just straight start looking at the ceiling like this. Like if you
Which is really noticeable.
It's super
Looking
noticeable.
Straight up is super noticeable.
It's super noticeable. If you ever catch me looking straight up, I promise I'm not investigating the popcorn on the ceiling or like seeing if the walls have asbestos. I'm trying to either think of the next thing to say or like remember something or do some kind of calculation. It is probably the most blatant tell that I have in all of my body language. And I've tried to, and it's really hard to stop. I always fall back into that pattern of when I really have to think about something, I'm looking up.
Mm. So part of the reason I asked you last week to check out the show is to give me feedback. I've tasked 2 people with feedback. It's you and Cheever. So, what's your feedback for me? Tell me now. Skewer me with criticism.
I think that, and maybe my sample size is too small, but the panels that I were watching, and this probably is also because a lot of the job when it isn't between games is like over the drafting screen. I think that you fade out of conversation sometimes when you have people specifically like Kyle and BSJ who can really, they don't need a third person there. They can fucking do that shit by themselves ad nauseum forever, right? I think that there's times where like you are probably intentionally thinking that you are taking a back seat to like let them do their job, when really you could actually butt in more and like reset the conversation, or like maybe in that point in time be the layman. I think what's interesting specifically about the Kyle Cap BSJ Eastern European panels is that more than almost any other panel, none of you are laymen. You're looking at probably 3 people out of the whole cast of DPC talent who may or may not have the most in-game knowledge. Definitely, you're probably all in the top 5, if I had to guess, or something close to that, right? So, and maybe again the criticism is more biased towards like working with them in specific, but I think that you can probably just insert yourself a little bit more, and also ask like what is the question that I would ask, because I really don't know the intricacies of why Crystal Maiden makes sense here.
Yeah. No, I definitely do, because I always feel like hosts take up too much space very often, especially the more they know about Dota, the more space they take up. Shiva has always been really good at being generous with the space that she gives her panel members, but like I noticed Red Eye, like the more he knew about the game, I felt like the worse he got as a Dota host, because he would put himself in too much, I think. And that is something that like I definitely have thought about, where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be taking up too much of like, somebody will say something and I think I have a smart point, but I'm like, that's not really my spot. And I tend to do that a lot outside of the drafting panel. I think I do it a lot more, where sometimes I think I'm like, okay, I'm taking up too much of the conversation. I'm supposed to ask them questions, and I feel like I'm asking questions and doing answers at the same time. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is probably. It also doesn't help that sometimes my panel members straight up just don't know anything about the teams. I swear to God, Kyle, he asked me for my notes again. I'm gonna fucking lose it. I need him to know something about the team. I had a moment where like literally, I'll make this short. Literally, I go and I ask a question, and Brian intercepts the question, and he gives an answer. And my next question is going to be about PuckChamp and their specific players. Is there anybody who stands out on this squad? Is there I want them to be able to point to a player and say, this guy is gonna get on Virtus Pro one day and he's gonna be a fucking star, or this guy sucks and this is how the team could be better if he steps up his game, you know? And I realize that that is going to be the next question. But the natural back and forth of the panel, the SJ took question 1, question 2, because here's the thing. Question 1, Brian had his answer, and I let Kyle have a potential to say something, and he goes, "Yeah, no, I agree." And so I'm like, "Okay, next question's coming in." So because Kyle didn't take anything off of what BSJ said, it means the next question has to go to him. Otherwise, it's me and Brian having a one-on-one back and forth, with occasionally the peanut gallery. And I realize that the question I'm going to ask, that I've already prepared in my head, I can't swerve this. I don't have another question that I was going to ask. It's PuckChamp, for God's sakes. I can't. I don't have like in-depth questions about them. I'm going to ask them because I have an answer to this question. So if all else fails, at least I have an answer. But I realize this question goes to Kyle. The natural back and forth of this, Kyle has to be the one to answer this. And I'm asking him, which of the players on PuckChamp stand out to you in some way? And I know he doesn't know a single name of the players on the team. And as I'm saying this, I'm going, oh God, this is a mistake. That's what's going on in my head. I'm throwing this question to Kyle, and I'm just like, oh no, this is the wrong question for the wrong panel list.
It's really funny.
And Kyle has this moment of
really funny.
He just kind of like freezes, and then he gets kind of a sheepish grin on his face, and I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. So yeah, like then I end up answering my own question. So I am concerned about talking too much. So I will try and do the layman thing a little bit more for draft panels, especially.
Yeah, I should watch some more to like see how you interact with other people too, because like I was watching a broadcast right with them and like a set of games. Like I don't know how that parlays with other people necessarily, but there was
that's why I love Robson. Robson always has a response, and it's always a good response. You know, like he may not be getting the Twitch clips like Kyle is, but like Robson, I know I can always throw to him. He's either going to have something informational or he's going to have something entertaining, and it would be something that other people can bounce off of. He is a great setter in fucking volleyball. You know, the guy who hits it up for somebody else's spike. He's really good at that. I quite enjoy working with Robson. So that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, that was the obvious thing I should say. Anything else would probably be a little more disingenuous or like not refined enough that I think would be actionable. I'd be interested. Did Cheever give you feedback? What did she tell you?
She said she initially said she didn't really have any feedback for me.
That's a cop out. Fuck that. Her feedback.
Yeah. Well, what that means is she does. I mean, when I'm working, she's not, right? Except for one day where she's doing social media stuff, and she's probably not even watching the show. To be like, she's watching the games maybe, but she's not going to watch the panel segment. It's like whatever. which I don't blame her for at all. So I think that more so says that she just isn't watching the show at all, which is totally fair. And then she did say for me to be more aware of where the camera is, right, which I already knew is a big problem for me because for those who don't know the backstage, so basically there's a camera there's a camera here, there's a camera here, and then there's the crane camera that moves back and forth, right?
The
And the cameras, the cameras will very often have a light that is on top of the camera to let you know what camera shot is currently going. It's
a
red
tally light.
There we go. The green light will tell me what is the next shot going to be. Okay. The problem is the
Red.
camera on the jib doesn't have one of those. So that kind of fucks me up. I don't like that. And for whatever, is that a common thing, Joey? Because every single esports broadcast I've had, that thing never has it. It never has the tally light.
Jibs should have tally lights.
Okay. The whatever reason, I've never worked a show that it does.
so the only reason a jib would not have a tally light is if you're working with a really big jib and your tally lights are based off of an Ethernet cable. You might not have like the proper Ethernet cable to run to the jib with enough slack to actually get the motion and swing it. But
okay.
What a stupid niche thing that I know too much about. You all cameras should have tally lights. It is generally extremely helpful for talent. Even if you don't have the green light and you only have the red light for what's live, most of the time you can really function with one. The second one helps, but most of the time you just want to know what camera's live.
Yeah. So that the fact that doesn't have a tally light fucks with my head a bit.
Does your producer your producer or does the technical director switch to the camera you're looking at, or do they wait for you to notice you're on the wrong camera? Because that's
they wait to notice I'm on the wrong camera. That is in part because I do have a camera that is specifically for me throwing to break. Mm-hmm. But the other camera will. So basically what happens is the camera. Another thing is these two cameras that are stationary. They have operators that will change the camera angle so it's put directly on both panel members or just one of the panel members. So that also kind of fucks me up. That like sometimes it'll be on me, but I think it's on someone else because I'm not looking necessarily at the screen. I just see that camera is on, and I don't know necessarily that it's on me. I think it's on the guy next to me. So that kind of fucks with me.
Do you have a preview monitor on the floor?
I have a preview monitor that's down here. So I
like
definitely
far away from your eye line, like you wouldn't see without having to look at it.
It's a little below my eye line.
Okay.
That's a little hard to see, but there's a big TV screen that's also out there. But the problem is I'm not good enough at this job just yet for me to be able to effortlessly do it, that I can pay attention to my peripherals more. So I'm the last thing I'm thinking about is whether or not the camera is actually on me or the guy next to me. My brain is just saying it's on him. I'm thinking of what is happening next in the show. So that's just an experience thing, I would say.
If I was your technical director, and this is actually how I learned to be really good at tally lights, is as soon as someone fucks with you a little bit, you start to pick it up because you don't want to look like a clown. So like if I'm in the booth switching cameras and you're looking at the wrong one, I probably, and this is a Dream League thing and not an ESL thing because of the way the broadcasts are. But given the way the Dream League broadcast is, which is not the one you're hosting, I think it would be totally within their style and their wheelhouse to just intentionally start cutting to the camera that you're not looking at. So
you do the...
Yeah, exactly. So you're having one of these every time you're looking at the camera, it switches to the other one, and you're chasing it. It helps. It like that is a bit that you can do once, right? Which is like a thing for a show. But if if you were just having to like play some time, almost like doing whack-a-mole with the tally lights, whether it be live or not live, it's super helpful. Not having one of the gib really sucks.
So, and then the final thing that fucks me up, remember the green light
Uh-huh.
for the this is the next scene. Again, this is one of those tertiary things that's like in the back of my head. Yeah, I know red is live and green is coming up next, but in my head, it's only light. You know, because I'm too busy thinking about the show that I very often be looking at the green light because it's just
Green
it's a
means
light.
go. Green means go.
Green go. Look at the light. So I've developed a phrase in my head: chase the red. That is what I'm now that like okay, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more handle on hosting the show. Is just literally throwing and getting the keeping the panel going and like making sure I always have something to be able to talk about. As and like that sort of thing. Like now I've got the run of show down and things like that. Then now I'm beginning to work more on the technical stuff, and so now I'm working on smiling more into the camera or making sure I'm looking at the right camera and shit like that.
Do you know why it's red?
Why is it red?
Because of our lizard brains. Because of the same reason that stop signs are red, and because fire trucks are red, and because blood is red, right? Because our lizard brains go, blood. Pay attention.
Then why am I looking at green?
Because I don't know. Because you're like, I don't know, green means go.
I think it's because one camera is much more noticeable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes that like they'll put it up on my camera, and I'll see green, and therefore I'll just see a light and just be like, oh, and then I'll start talking to that camera. And instead it's on the fucking chip or whatever, and I'm just like, all right.
Hopefully someone learned something cool today. If it's not me about my hands or you're about your eye line, maybe it's someone who's like, wait a second, the cameras have lights on them.
Yeah, this was an entirely an esports production show and not a Dota 2 what's going on inside the game show.
It's okay, hear me out. We've been going for, I'm gonna say, an hour and 7 minutes because I'm looking at the timer. And if it's not an hour and 7 minutes right now, you know that I cut something out. And I think that I wanted to go to bed an hour ago, but now I'm really past that. So is there anything briefly worth talking about from Dota since we've last talked? I think
we got another patch, and it's just a small little baby patch. Nothing major. Level 1 tower taking is becoming a thing. China just did that. It showed up on Reddit. China's doing it.
I think they lost that game.
People will do it.
Can you fact check that real quick? I can't swap away them with the cams.
I can try.
It was Shock Arrow is the team with the Luna, obviously, is the one who did it. And I think that they lost to the Spectre, or at least it's what it was looking like in the first 10 minutes. They were Radiant, and they took the Dire 2-1.
Sparking Arrow? Is that what you're saying?
Not Shock Arrow, okay. Sparking Arrow.
Yeah, obviously Sparking Arrow. Jesus, Joey.
Yeah, call me Kyle or something.
They did indeed lose that game. 4-18, 13-minute game. 13 minutes? What? Against a Spectre lineup. Oh, they got broodmothered. That must have been what happened. They got broodmothered, and they must have gotten whomped by him. XXS went 4-0-1. Leshrac went 9-0-2. So apparently it was the mid Leshrac that handled them. But
they got away with the tier 1 tower and 0 defense. I'm curious how that game got played afterwards, and what happened. Maybe I should look at that real quick. Wow.
Yeah.
Is this something that
Yikes.
Needs to have like a rule in the sense where like, towers have backdoor protection before the horn or something? Is this bad?
I think it's a little cheesy. It's not fun cheesy like level 1 Roshan. I think it's kind of bad cheesy because The problem with it is I don't think it's going to be that successful because it takes a very curated lineup to actually do it. For example, you need Nature's Prophet. If Nature's Prophet was really good right now, then that would be fine, but he's not, or doesn't seem to be anyway. And you also need 5 Abaddon, which is kind of eh. So the thing about this is, I mean, I'm just looking at their lanes. Their lanes suck. They have Abaddon, Luna, Furion as an aggro trine lane, mid Snapfire, and then a safe lane Legion commander who was 1v1 against a Broodmother. So yeah, I think the lineup just kind of sucks. But what I was trying to lead to is it's hard to react to it because you're setting up for bounty runes. So if you set up for bounty runes on the wrong side of the map and they do the tower, they start hitting the tower that's on the opposite side of the map, it just kind of gets, it's not
You can't
good.
TP because it's on cooldown.
Yeah. Roshan has always been closer to the middle of the map, so it is always something that you can react to. But tier 1 side lane towers are specifically the farthest points away on the map, right? So I think literally just placement makes it bad cheesy, not good cheesy.
So. I think it's interesting that that's the most interesting thing that happened.
Yep, that literally is
in the last
the most interesting thing.
That, and I learned that you and Sumail are mortal enemies.
Yes. Die, Sumail. I hope Liquid loses now.
No, don't say that.
I hope they go to lower division to humble Sumail.
Absolutely cannot lose to Tundra. It's very important.
If you guys beat Tundra, you're in a really good spot. Blitz and I were just talking about it on our podcast. Also, that's another thing. Released another episode of the Cap and Blitz podcast. It was super informative. Talks about Sumail quite a lot and what happened at the major quite a lot. So
Blitz is such a good friend to anyone who he cares about because it's like he just did a show that was just great Sumail PR. Like he's out there doing PR for Sumail almost.
A post-game interview was very good PR for Sumail as well.
Oh yeah, it showed that he had. Yeah. I did see. I saw that live, and I'm like, that's funny. He made fun of Austin.
Wait, no, sorry. The one that Blitz did. He did a post-game interview where he lightly talked about Boxy, and then he also hyped Sumail up. Mm-hmm. And that was also good for Sumail. And then on top of that, Sumail also had a Position 6 podcast that just came out about him, where Seb said that Sumail was one of the nicest teammates that he's ever had, or something like that. Caring. He used some adjective that was very specific. And so that's also good PR because it says that OG, it was COVID stuff, and that them working with Sumail and stop working with Sumail had nothing to do with his attitude or anything. And quite the contrary. The team that's all about friendship and love literally says that this guy's great. Sumail's only getting good PR right now.
It's true. His stock's going way up. And if he keeps on, playing the way that he's playing some of these games, his stock's only keep on going up. So, I mean, super happy for him. Gotta beat Tundra. And then OG and Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully Alliance loses to someone.
If you guys beat Tundra, Secret and OG still have to play against each other, so you're in like a very good spot to. If you beat Tundra, you're almost guaranteed tiebreakers.
Yeah, it's guaranteed tiebreakers, and it's almost certainly at least wild card.
Yeah.
With a really strong possibility, like kind of controlling your own destiny into second place.
Yeah.
Basically, Liquid has their own destiny into second place.
They sure do.
Which is great.
Which, again, goes to what I was talking about the dynamic being shaken up. Secret may not even be second. They may end up being third. I am a genius. It's not like it's so hot for Brame and Hellbear Smashers, though. That they may end up going right back to lower division.
I'm not unconvinced that Brame can hang.
I mean, so can Hellbear Smashers. They took a game off of almost everybody by now. They took a game off of Secret.
Everybody
the only team they
Liquid.
didn't take everybody but Liquid. That They've taken games, they just haven't taken series. So
I think Brame can hang. I think that they're very. It's really hard for Europe because worst region, LOL major, right? But like at the end of the day, you're competing with an alliance who's probably over-indexing and is legitimately first place right now. Liquid, which probably has the highest variance of any team in the group, could be top 2, could be in theory bottom 2. Secret, OG, Enigma, right?
Yeah.
And then there's just 3 other teams. I don't give a fuck who you are, whether it's Viking, GD, or Brame, or like, you know, name your fighter. Those are the 5 teams that you have to take some number of games off of.
Yeah.
That shit ain't easy.
No. No matter what people say about the major, Europe is still an incredibly hard region to play in that DPC.
Yeah.
Count on Europe for being wrong about their ideas about Dota or overhyping themselves or whatever. But like at the end of the day, after the major, I still want to watch European DPC because I know that's a banger.
Or China. But then you got to put up with
China.
Panel. Oh. God. Neil's never going to listen to this. We're great friends. We're great friends. I'm going to listen to that Cabin Blitz podcast because I'm interested in what happened.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Also support people because that listener, you never know that they multiply. Tell your friends.
Tell all your friends.
Also, I'm talking to Will. I'm talking to Blitz literally every day now. We generally didn't talk a ton, but like we had what I would call a solid relationship. But now we are keeping each other accountable with what we're eating.
Oh, very nice.
And before each of us go to bed every night, we're literally like typing out everything that we ate that day to the other person. And
that's adorable.
The thought that I have to tell Will, I was like over the weekend on Sunday, I was like, oh fuck, man, I'm right by Porto's. I'm right by Porto's. I can go in, I can get 4 potato balls and 6 cheese rolls, right, and do it right now, and this would be great. And then I'm like, fuck, but then I gotta tell Will that I ate 4 potato balls and 6 cheese rolls. Well, I guess I can't do it. So we are actively getting more attractive together. Results incoming. It's gonna take a minute, but just you wait. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to speak for him, I'm pretty sure is back on the grind to has abs Blitz.
Yeah, he is.
And I am losing my hair so I can't also be fat. One or the other.
True. I am also working out right now. But is it like if I'm bald by choice?
That's
okay?
fine.
It's still okay if I'm fat? Okay.
Correct. You can be bald by choice and fat. You can't be male pattern baldness or clearly aging and fat. Big difference.
Okay.
Also, you don't have to live in a world where you're on dating apps.
It's true. It's true. Being in a relationship really
just gonna put it here.
It makes it a lot easier.
I will next week tease the fact and share some musings from this book that I was given.
Okay.
Called How to Not Die Alone.
Wow.
So, big shout out to my friend Kirsty who read this and then passed it on to me and said, "Hey, you also struggling, right?"
Hey, she read that.
She
More
did.
like she saw that at the bookstore and she immediately thought of you. Hey, Joey, I read this and it's really you're also having. See, this is why the Euro panel is the banter panel.
Yep. Yep. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week.